As you know by now, Susan Monarez, the director of the Centers for Disease Control, was fired yesterday by the toilet rat after she refused to sign, under tremendous pressure from RFK Jr. and these other vermin. She was under pressure to change vaccine policy, which would put more Americans at risk. I can't get my mind around this. Why people who appear to be normal, until they open their mouths, I'm talking about RFK Jr. and all these MAGA fuckers, but why they would want sickness and disease and death in this country. I can't understand that. But anyway, that's what her being fired sparked the resignation of other senior CDC officials. And a showdown developed, as these things always do, over whether she could be fired by the toilet rat. So what happened a few hours early Wednesday, yesterday, after the Department of Health and Human Services said that Ms. Monarez was no longer the director, her lawyers responded with a statement saying that she had not resigned or been fired. In other words, what her lawyers were saying is, fuck you, what are you talking about? And the lawyers accused RFK Jr. of, quote, weaponizing public health for political gain and putting millions of Americans' lives at risk, end quote. And how is this idiotic worm brain able to do this? By purging health officials from government. The lawyers, and they're well known, Mark Zaid and Abby Lowell, they wrote in part in their statement this, quote, when CDC Director Susan Monarez refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and to fire dedicated health experts, she chose protecting the public over serving a political agenda. For that reason, she has been targeted, end quote. Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't do what Donald Christ says, what this dictator fuckwad says, well, then you're going to be eliminated one way or the other. And soon after the attorneys issued that statement, the toilet rat formally fired Monarez. And a White House spokesman, another one of these fucking brain-dead people, Kush Desai. Kush Desai? That doesn't sound like a white person's name. What the fuck? Kush Desai statement said this in a real snarky, snotty way, quote, as her attorney's statement makes abundantly clear, Susan Monarez is not aligned with the president's agenda of making America healthy again. Since Susan Monarez refused to resign despite informing HHS leadership of her intent to do so, the White House has terminated Monarez from her position with the CDC, end quote, from this little fucker named Kush Desai. Is that Irish? No, I don't think it is. Now, one of the attorneys, Mark Zaid, said that Monarez never intended to resign, never told anyone that she intended to do so. And legally, she remains in the position because the toilet rat did not personally fire her. Oh, God. How much longer? Seriously, how much longer? Anyway, the shakeup yesterday at CDC, which included the resignation of the CDC's chief medical officer, the director of its infectious disease center, and a bunch of other key officials, they all decided, fuck this. We're not going to do fake medicine. We're not going to do bullshit science. We are either going to do what we know is best, science, research, epidemiology, all of it, or we're out of here. But the shakeups, the resignations of these key people at CDC, it just adds to the chaos that is going on at the CDC. And it is this country's, and with very few exceptions, maybe no exceptions, an agency that the entire world has relied on for health information, information about epidemics, information about vaccine research, and the toilet rat and these fuckwads who work for him are destroying it. Why? Why? That's the part I can't. I can't. Now, the most obvious reason would be that RFK, Wormbrain, and his fucked up allies have long criticized the CDC as being too deferential to the pharmaceutical industry and vaccine makers. Well, if that is the case, then conduct an investigation. Let everything continue, everything that CDC does to promote health and wellness around the globe, and conduct your fucking investigation. And let it be done not by you creeps, but by an independent panel of doctors and investigators and epidemiologists, since that's one of the areas that CDC stands out in. But you don't just say, well, fuck you. You're not doing the Make America Healthy Again agenda, so you're fired. Oh my God. Now, as we know by now, Wormbrain has totally just upended, confused, practically destroyed vaccine policies in this country. And also yesterday, what he did, he narrowed the approval necessary to get a coronavirus vaccine. He's taking high-risk groups, people who are especially susceptible to an upper respiratory possible death sentence, as COVID-19 is. Certain high-risk groups, old people, babies, people who are dealing with other health issues. And he's taken steps in doing that medical experts say are undermining this country's public health response, no matter what the issue is. Well, yeah, this is what RFK Jr., he is crazy. He wants you to fight COVID-19 if you become sick by overdoing vitamins that will, if you overdose, will fuck up some of your vital organs. I mean, this is, come on, Mike. To me, this is clearly indicative of somebody who's just fucking crazy, period. Crazy, that's all, clinically. Now back to Miss Monarez, who was confirmed a month ago. And for days after her confirmation by the Senate, when she got into her new job as CDC director, she started getting harassment and pressure from Wormbrain. And from lawyers, so-called, who work for the toilet rat and other officials. She was getting this pressure over whether she would support ending certain approvals for the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, that's according to the Post says that's according to two people familiar with this shit as it went on inside CDC. And, of course, the Wormbrain, who has this long history, verifiable, obvious history of anti-vaccine advocacy, questioned Monarez 2 days ago, Monday. Well, I guess it was 3 days ago, on whether she was aligned with the toilet rat in changing the vaccine policy. And Wormbrain and one of his top advisors, another one of these bitches named Stephanie Spear. Where do these people come from? She also, along with Kennedy, pushed Monarez to fire her senior staff by the end of the week. Now, this, according to people inside CDC, are speaking on condition of anonymity, but who were there, who witnessed this, who saw what the fuck these people are doing. So, Monarez, who was a longtime federal government scientist before Trump nominated her to lead the CDC, she said no to a Spear and Wormbrain about committing to support changing coronavirus vaccine policy without consulting experts in the field. And that prompted Wormbrain to tell her to resign for, quote, not supporting President Trump's agenda, end quote. So, Monarez declined to resign and enlisted Senator Bill Cassidy, a right-wing Republican senator from Louisiana, who's a doctor, who is chairman of the Senate's Health Committee, and he was the one who cast a pivotal vote for Kennedy's confirmation. After he got commitments from Wormbrain that Kennedy would protect vaccines and their distribution, especially to groups who desperately need this kind of protection. So Senator Cassidy privately, what's the matter, Senator Dr. Cassidy, a fucking coward? He privately pushed back on Wormbrain's demands, which further pissed off Wormbrain. So Wormbrain comes out blasting Monarez for involving the senator, the senator who cast the deciding vote to put RFK Jr. into this position. And how many people in media to follow guidelines from CDC, from the government, from public health, from your doctor, that a certain vaccination schedule will, to a large extent, protect your child or your grandchild from these infectious diseases that otherwise would kill her. So what is this? If it's not mental illness that is driving these fuckers from the top down, the head of the snake, that's where the goddamn poison rests, with Trump. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.